Ayan sat on the edge of a wooden park bench, the worn slats slightly damp from the morning dew. In his hands were 2 cups of coffee, the steam curling upward in delicate tendrils, warming his cold fingers. One cup was for him, the other for Zara, the girl he had been talking to for months online. He had never met her in person, yet the thought of her filled his mind like a vivid, living presence. Today, in this quiet little park, he would finally see her. The early afternoon sun filtered through the branches of towering oaks, casting a soft, dappled pattern on the path. Children's laughter echoed from the playground across the lawn, mingling with the distant bark of a dog and the soft rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. The park smelled of wet grass and faint coffee from a nearby cafe, a comforting, homey aroma that seemed to wrap around him like a soft blanket. Ayan's fingers drummed nervously on the cardboard sleeve of his coffee cup. He checked his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. Zara had promised to arrive at 3, and now the minute hand was creeping toward the halfway mark. What if she got lost? What if she didn't come? His stomach tightened at the thought, a fluttering mix of anticipation and anxiety that made him feel alive and vulnerable all at once. He glanced at the 2nd cup, set carefully beside him. Its warmth radiated through the sleeve, a small, tangible piece of his hope for the day. Holding it was like holding a promise, a silent symbol of the connection he had nurtured for months. Every evening, their conversations had filled his small apartment with laughter and longing. He could still picture her smile when she told him about her day, the way her words seemed to linger in the air long after the screen went dark. Ayan shook his head, trying to chase away the nerves. He had imagined this moment countless times, standing face to face, heart pounding, sharing their first coffee together. He had pictured every detail: the way she would look when she saw the cup in his hand, the soft laughter, the awkward first words. Yet, as he sat there, the reality felt different, almost heavier. Anticipation was a weight that made him fidget, tug at the collar of his jacket, and adjust the 2 cups again and again. From a distance, a couple strolled along the path, holding hands, their laughter light and carefree. Ayan smiled faintly, imagining that could one day be him and Zara. His gaze wandered to the fountain at the center of the park, water shimmering in the sunlight, droplets catching the light like tiny sparks. The fountain had been a feature in his daydreams too. He imagined them sitting nearby, sharing stories and quiet silences, a world shrinking down to just the 2 of them. The minutes ticked by slowly. Ayan sipped his coffee, savoring the bitter warmth, trying to calm his racing heart. The aroma of roasted beans was comforting, a familiar anchor in the sea of uncertainty. He glanced around at the empty paths, wondering which figure would be hers. Every person who walked by caused a spike of excitement and disappointment, a small surge of hope extinguished almost immediately when it wasn't her. Finally, a movement caught his eye. A figure approached from the far end of the path, her silhouette tentative, yet unmistakable. His heart leapt in his chest. Zara. She was here. She waved softly, a shy, nervous smile playing on her lips. Ayan stood quickly, almost spilling the coffee in his hands. He took a deep breath, steadying himself as he held out the cup meant for her. "Hi," he said, his voice slightly higher than he intended. "I got us coffee." Zara's smile widened, and she took the cup with both hands, a laugh escaping her as she settled onto the bench beside him. "I can't believe we're finally doing this," she said softly. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of months of anticipation, late-night messages, and shared secrets. Ayan felt a rush of relief and warmth. The awkwardness of a first meeting was there, but it was tempered by a strange familiarity, a sense that they had already known each other in some essential way. He handed her the 2nd cup, their fingers brushing lightly in the exchange. The contact was brief, yet it sent a spark through him, igniting a mix of joy and nervous excitement that made his stomach flutter. They sipped their coffees in silence for a moment, the clinking of the paper cups against the cardboard sleeves the only sound between them. Ayan watched her face, noticing the way her eyes caught the sunlight, the small gestures that were uniquely her. In that moment, the rest of the world seemed to fade. The distant laughter of children, the chirping birds, the gentle swish of the fountain all became a soft backdrop to the unfolding reality of their first meeting. Ayan felt his nerves settle, replaced by a calm certainty. The wait had been worth it. The park, the coffee, the quiet anticipation, they were all pieces of something larger, something real and tangible. As they laughed over a shared joke and began talking about the small details of their lives, Ayan realized that this was only the beginning. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to wait for someone, not in anxiety or longing, but in hope, with 2 coffees and one heart ready to share. The park had begun to fill slowly with the quiet rhythm of afternoon life. Joggers passed by in steady streams, parents pushed strollers, and a dog barked enthusiastically at a frisbee that had landed too close to a bush. Yet, around Ayan and Zara, the world felt suspended, as if the bustle of the park existed only on the edges of their own private bubble. They sat on the bench, the 2 coffee cups steaming between them. Ayan took a careful sip, letting the warmth travel down to his chest. He glanced at Zara, noticing the way sunlight danced across her hair, how her fingers curled around her cup, and the subtle way her lips curved when she smiled. There was a quiet beauty in her presence, a comfort that made his initial nervousness ebb. So this is really happening," Zara said, her voice soft but filled with a quiet excitement. "I feel like I've been imagining this moment for weeks." Ayan chuckled, a little awkwardly, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Me too. I was afraid I might mess it up somehow," he admitted. The words were simple, but the honesty behind them seemed to dissolve the last remnants of tension between them. They began to talk, tentatively at first. Small details, casual questions, favorite books, recent movies, and the peculiarities of London weather. Each answer revealed glimpses of personality, quirks, and humor that text alone could never convey. Ayan laughed when Zara recounted her disastrous attempt at baking cookies the week before. She smiled when he described the time he had gotten lost in the city, wandering for hours with a meeting late on his mind. As the conversation deepened, so did the connection. They spoke about their hobbies, their dreams, the small, meaningful moments that shaped who they were. Ayan found himself leaning slightly forward, drawn into her words, captivated by the rhythm of her voice and the way her eyes sparkled with sincerity. Zara mirrored him, her posture relaxed, her laughter light but frequent, and every so often, their hands brushed accidentally while reaching for the coffee cups. "I feel like I already know you," Zara said quietly at one point, her eyes meeting his. There was a vulnerability in her tone, a hesitation that suggested she, too, was testing the waters of something delicate yet profound. "I know," Ayan replied, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "It's strange, isn't it? Talking online for months and then suddenly, here we are. And it feels real." The moment stretched, comfortable and intimate. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above them, carrying the faint scent of coffee and the earthy perfume of the park. Ayan realized that the cups of coffee between them were more than a gesture, they were a symbol. Each cup represented the willingness to share, to wait, and to invest in a connection that was only just beginning. They walked slowly around the park after finishing their drinks, the conversation continuing effortlessly. Ayan noticed how naturally their laughter blended, how the silences weren't awkward but soft, almost companionable. He felt a warmth spreading in his chest, a quiet certainty that this meeting was the start of something meaningful. At a small pond, they paused to watch the ducks glide over the shimmering water. Zara leaned slightly closer, pointing out a mother duck and her ducklings. "They always stick together," she said with a gentle smile. "Kind of like people should, too, don't you think?" Ayan nodded, feeling a subtle thrill at the metaphor. "Yeah, sticking together," supporting each other. I think that's the best kind of connection. As the sun dipped lower, painting the park with hues of gold and amber, they returned to the bench where they had first met. There was a quiet joy in just sitting side by side, no words needed, the earlier nervousness replaced by a sense of ease. Each of them understood that this first encounter was more than a casual meeting, it was the spark of a bond that had the potential to grow, slow and steady, rooted in trust and laughter. Ayan realized that waiting had been worth every second. The initial tension, the anxious thoughts, and the excitement of anticipation had led to a moment of clarity. The connection between them was real, tangible, and promising. As they stood to leave, Zara looked at him, her expression soft. "I'm really glad we did this," she said simply. "Me too," Ayan replied, feeling the words settle warmly in his chest. "Me too." The park, the coffees, the quiet moments, they had all combined into something unforgettable. And as they walked toward the exit, side by side, Ayan knew this was just the beginning of a story neither of them had fully imagined, but both were eager to write together. The days after their first meeting lingered in Ayan's mind like the warm aftertaste of coffee, comforting, rich, and impossible to forget. He found himself replaying every smile, every shared laugh, every fleeting brush of hands in the park. Zara's presence, though still new, had become a quiet rhythm in his thoughts, a melody that he couldn't ignore. They had agreed to meet again, this time for a walk along the river. The city had shifted from soft autumn hues to the crisp chill of early winter, and the air smelled faintly of smoke and earth. Ayan arrived early, clutching a scarf and a spare coffee for her, just in case. His heart raced as he waited, the memory of their first encounter making the minutes stretch like hours. When Zara appeared, bundled in a cozy coat, a scarf loosely wrapped around her neck, Ayan felt that same thrill as the first meeting. Her eyes lit up as she saw him, a smile breaking across her face that mirrored his own. "I brought you coffee," he said, offering the cup. She laughed softly, accepting it, the gesture instantly bridging any lingering distance between them. They walked along the riverbank, talking about everything and nothing. The conversation flowed effortlessly, moving from childhood memories to dreams for the future. Ayan shared stories of his small victories and embarrassing failures, and Zara responded with encouragement, empathy, and playful teasing that made him laugh more than he had in months. Every glance, every subtle smile, every shared joke deepened their connection. At one point, they paused to watch the river glisten in the fading sunlight. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wet leaves and warm pastries from a nearby cafe. Zara tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, shivering slightly. Ayan offered his scarf without hesitation. "Here, take it," he said. Their fingers brushed as she accepted it, and the spark of contact lingered far longer than necessary. Neither pulled away. "I feel like I could talk to you forever," Zara said quietly, her eyes meeting his. There was honesty in her voice, vulnerability he had rarely seen but somehow instinctively understood. "Me too," Ayan admitted. "It feels easy with you. Like I've known you longer than I actually have." He smiled, feeling the truth of it in his chest. For the first time, he realized that what he felt for her was more than curiosity or infatuation, it was a budding trust, a warmth that felt both fragile and powerful. They continued walking, their hands occasionally brushing, each touch sending a subtle thrill through Ayan. The city around them seemed to blur into the background, the murmur of distant traffic, the occasional call of a street vendor, the chatter of passers-by all faded behind the intensity of their shared presence. By the time they returned to a quiet park bench near the river, the sky had turned a deep indigo, dotted with the first stars of the evening. They sat close, sipping the last of their coffee, the warmth from the cups mirrored in the quiet heat between them. Silence fell, but it wasn't uncomfortable, it was a shared moment of peace, a mutual acknowledgement that something meaningful was forming. "You know," Zara said softly, "I was nervous the first time we met. I didn't know if it would feel awkward, or if we'd click." Ayan reached out, gently covering her hand with his. I was nervous too. But now it feels right. Like we're exactly where we're supposed to be. She smiled, her eyes glimmering with an unspoken understanding. I like that. I like it a lot. As they sat there, the cool winter air brushing against their faces, Ayan realized that this was no longer just about waiting or wondering. The connection between them had grown into something tangible, something real and alive. The shy glances, the nervous laughs, and the shared coffees had woven a delicate but strong thread between their hearts. For the first time, Ayan felt a quiet certainty, this was more than a fleeting moment or a casual meeting. It was the beginning of a bond that could weather time, distance, and uncertainty. And as the lights from the nearby bridge reflected in the river, glittering like tiny stars, he silently vowed to nurture this connection, to see where it could lead. The night ended with laughter, soft promises of another meeting, and the unspoken understanding that the journey they had begun together was only just starting. The next few meetings between Ayan and Zara had become a comforting routine. Walks in the park, shared coffee, quiet laughter, and long conversations had begun to fill their days. Yet, beneath the growing closeness, a subtle tension lingered, a question neither dared to voice aloud. How much of this connection was friendship, and how much could it be something more? It was on a chilly Saturday afternoon that Ayan decided to confront the uncertainty. He had invited Zara to the park again, choosing a secluded bench near a small fountain that shimmered under the soft winter sun. He clutched a single coffee, though his mind was far too occupied to enjoy it. His thoughts were a whirlwind. What if she didn't feel the same way? What if this ruined the fragile magic between them? Zara arrived, her cheeks flushed from the cold, scarf wrapped snugly around her neck. She smiled as she approached, eyes lighting up when she saw him. Hey, she said, voice warm despite the chill. Hey, Ayan replied, standing to offer her the seat beside him. The fountain burbled softly, the only sound breaking the crisp silence of the park. They sipped their coffee, their hands occasionally brushing, sending small shocks of warmth through him. After a moment, Ayan cleared his throat, heart pounding. Zara, there's something I've been meaning to say, he began, voice slightly unsteady. She looked at him, curiosity and concern mingling in her eyes. I really like you, he said finally, the words spilling out in a rush. More than I expected. More than I can ignore. And I needed you to know. The park seemed to hold its breath. Zara's eyes widened slightly, surprise flickering across her features. For a heartbeat, silence stretched between them, charged and delicate. Then, slowly, a soft smile curved her lips. Ayan, she said gently, reaching out to touch his hand. I've been feeling the same way. I was just scared to say it first. Relief, warmth, and joy washed over him in an overwhelming wave. His heart, which had been racing with nervous anticipation, finally settled into a steady, comforting rhythm. The tension melted away, replaced by a radiant connection that seemed to make the park around them glow. They spent the next hour talking openly, sharing fears and hopes, laughing about their awkward nervousness, and marveling at how their bond had grown from shy glances and shared coffees into something deeply meaningful. Every word and gesture reinforced the truth they had both been holding inside: this connection was rare, delicate, and worth nurturing. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting golden light across the fountain, Ayan felt a profound sense of clarity. Waiting, the nervous anticipation, the small, shared moments, they had all led to this confession, this mutual understanding that they were ready to explore what had been quietly growing between them. Zara leaned her head slightly on his shoulder, a comfortable, intimate gesture that spoke volumes without a single word. Ayan's hand found hers, fingers interlacing naturally. The cold winter air no longer mattered, the warmth between them was enough. You know, Zara murmured softly, I think this is the start of something really special. Ayan nodded, smiling down at her. I think so too. And I promise, we'll take it one step at a time, together. For the first time, the idea of the future didn't feel scary, it felt promising. The park, the coffees, the laughter, and even the nervous moments had all been part of a journey toward this point: honesty, vulnerability, and mutual trust. As they sat there, side by side, the first stars began to appear in the sky above. The fountain sparkled in the fading light, mirroring the quiet thrill in their hearts. In that moment, Ayan knew that waiting had not just been worth it, it had been necessary. Because some connections, some hearts, are worth the patience, the nervousness, and the courage it takes to speak the truth. And as they stood to leave, hand in hand, a new chapter of their story had begun, one filled with hope, intimacy, and the promise of shared moments yet to come. The park was bathed in the soft, golden light of early evening. The air was crisp but no longer biting, it carried the faint scent of wet leaves and the distant aroma of a cafe. Ayan and Zara walked side by side, their hands entwined, the nervousness of their first meetings long behind them. What had begun as shy anticipation had blossomed into something real, something tangible, a connection that neither wanted to rush, but both cherished. They found themselves at the fountain where Ayan had first confessed his feelings. The water sparkled in the fading light, droplets catching the sun like tiny diamonds. It had become a symbol of their journey, a place of shared secrets, tentative glances, and now, joyous laughter. I can't believe how much has changed in just a few weeks, Zara said, her eyes reflecting the fountain's shimmer. It feels like we've known each other forever. Ayan smiled, squeezing her hand gently. I feel the same way. It's funny how quickly things can grow when they're meant to be. They found a bench nearby and sat, the cool wood beneath them grounding them in the present while their hearts still buzzed with the thrill of the day. They talked about everything and nothing: plans for the weekend, little stories from work, dreams they had kept to themselves. Every word, every laugh, every shared glance seemed to weave them closer together, building a sense of comfort and trust that neither had expected to find so quickly. Zara leaned back, her head resting lightly against Ayan's shoulder. Do you ever think about that first day, she asked, her voice soft. When you were sitting here with 2 coffees, waiting. Ayan chuckled, remembering the nervous excitement that had consumed him. All the time. I remember being terrified I'd mess it up, that I'd say something stupid. But looking at you now, it was the best nervous wait of my life. She laughed, a sound that felt like music to his ears. I was nervous too. But I'm glad we both took the chance. I'm glad you waited. There was a comfortable silence after that, filled only by the gentle splashing of the fountain and the distant hum of the city. For Ayan, the moment was perfect, not because it was dramatic or extraordinary, but because it was real. It was a shared reality, 2 hearts discovering each other, slowly and intentionally, without hurry or pressure. As the sky deepened into twilight, Ayan took a deep breath. You know, he said, turning to face her, us, it's just the beginning. I don't know where it will go, but I do know that I want to figure it out with you. Zara looked at him, her eyes soft but shining with certainty. I want that too, she whispered. With you. They shared a quiet smile, one that spoke volumes more than words ever could. The 2 coffees they had shared weeks ago now felt like a small, symbolic beginning of something far greater. What had started as anticipation, nervousness, and a simple gesture had grown into a promise of companionship, trust, and shared joy. As they left the park, walking hand in hand beneath the soft glow of streetlights, Ayan realized that waiting, patience, and vulnerability had all led to this moment. The nervous hours, the shy smiles, and even the uncertain conversations had been the foundation of something beautiful. The city around them buzzed with life, yet for Ayan and Zara, the world felt intimate and safe, a place where hearts could meet and grow. The story of 2 coffees and 1 heart had reached its first happy chapter, and though the future was unknown, they both knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. And as they walked into the evening, laughter mingling with the crisp air, the promise of a shared journey stretched before them warm, bright, and full of possibility.